Most people approach fasting with the wrong mindset. They think it's simply about not eating for a certain number of hours, skipping breakfast, delaying lunch, maybe squeezing all their meals into one window. But fasting isn't just an empty stomach exercise, it's a hormonal strategy. The real goal of fasting is to lower insulin, the key hormone that determines whether your body is burning fat or storing it. If insulin remains high, you could fast for 20 hours a day and still struggle to lose weight, feel tired, or stay hungry. Because it's not the clock that makes fasting work, it's the chemistry happening underneath. Every time you eat, especially when your meal contains carbohydrates or sugar, insulin rises. That's not a bad thing. Insulin helps move glucose into your cells for energy. But when eating becomes constant, insulin never gets the chance to fall. And here's the catch: fat burning can only happen when insulin levels are low. You can't burn fat and store fat at the same time. It's one or the other. So, when people say, "I've been fasting, but I'm not losing weight," what they're often experiencing is high insulin blocking fat from being released. Their body is locked in storage mode even while they're technically fasting. Think about how most people start their day. They wake up, pour a cup of coffee with milk or sugar, maybe grab a handful of cereal or fruit, and then nibble on something mid-morning. Even if they're doing intermittent fasting, they might not realize that each small intake, even something as harmless as cream in coffee or a protein bar, triggers an insulin response. The body senses food, insulin rises, and the fat-burning switch turns off. The fast is broken, not by the clock, but by chemistry. Fasting works when the body transitions from burning glucose to burning fat. This transition, known as the metabolic switch, is what we're after. But most people never give their body enough time or space to reach that point. They're still relying on glucose because insulin is still signaling the body to store energy rather than release it. When insulin finally drops, your body begins to tap into stored fat for fuel, producing ketones, molecules that provide clean, steady energy for your brain and body. That's when people start to feel focused, calm, and clear-headed during fasting. The energy isn't coming from food anymore, it's coming from your own reserves. Now, the beauty of lowering insulin goes far beyond fat loss. When insulin levels stay low for periods of time, it sets off a cascade of healing inside the body. Inflammation decreases, blood pressure drops, the liver gets a break from constant glucose conversion. Even the gut begins to rest and repair. This is why fasting can feel so powerful. It's giving the body time to rebalance its hormones and clean up what's been damaged by years of constant eating. But to truly benefit, fasting has to be clean. That means no snacks, no caloric drinks, no sweeteners. Just water, black coffee, or tea during the fasting window. The simplicity of it is what makes it work. Because the moment you introduce calories, even small ones, you reset insulin. And when insulin resets, the process starts all over again. It's also important to understand that insulin resistance, the condition where cells stop responding well to insulin, is what makes fasting difficult in the beginning. If someone is insulin resistant, their insulin levels are elevated all the time. The body is so used to burning glucose that switching to fat feels uncomfortable. That's when you hear people say they feel shaky, tired, or irritable while fasting. It's not that fasting isn't working, it's that their metabolism is still stuck in glucose dependence mode. But the solution isn't to give up, it's to stay consistent and patient. As insulin levels gradually come down over time, the body learns to access fat more easily. Fasting should never feel like punishment. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about giving your body the freedom to heal. When you stop constantly feeding, you allow insulin to rest. When insulin rests, fat burning begins. And when fat burning begins, energy returns, inflammation settles, and the body starts functioning the way it was designed to. So if you've been fasting without results, look beyond the hours. Look at your insulin. Look at how often you're eating, what you're eating, and how much you're letting your body truly rest. Because fasting isn't about starving the body, it's about retraining it to remember how to use the energy it already has. Once you understand that fasting is a hormonal reset, not just a dietary challenge, everything changes. You stop chasing the clock and start listening to your body. You begin to feel that deep, steady energy that doesn't come from food but from balance. That's when fasting becomes more than a weight loss tool. It becomes a rhythm of healing. When insulin finally quiets down, your body does exactly what it was meant to do all along. It burns fat, heals from within, and thrives in the silence between meals. One of the biggest reasons people fail with intermittent fasting is that they misunderstand what to do during their eating window. They fast for 16 hours, and then the moment that eating window opens, they feel like the rules no longer apply. They start grazing, snacking, or sipping on drinks throughout those hours, thinking that as long as they're within their feeding window, it doesn't matter what or how often they eat. But the truth is, every single time you eat, every bite, every sip that contains calories, you trigger insulin. And once insulin goes up, fat burning stops. It doesn't matter if it's still your eating window, your body doesn't care what time it is. It only responds to chemistry. The whole purpose of fasting is to lower insulin long enough to unlock stored energy. But when you keep stimulating insulin during the eating window, you never let your body stabilize. You end up spending the entire day in this roller coaster of insulin spikes and crashes. You might technically be fasting for 16 hours, but metabolically, you've been in fat storage mode almost the entire time. And that's why people often say, I'm fasting, but nothing's happening. It's not the fasting period that's failing, it's what happens after it ends. Many people have been conditioned to think of food as constant fuel. They believe they need to eat every 2 to 3 hours to keep their metabolism active. But that advice is completely backward. Every time you eat, you shut off fat burning because insulin rises. The body never gets the signal to dip into stored fat for energy. Fasting only works when your meals are intentional, nutrient-dense, and spaced far enough apart for insulin to come back down between them. Let's say someone does a 16-8 fast. They fast for 16 hours and eat during an 8-hour window from noon to 8 p.m. They open their window with a small snack, have lunch an hour later, sip on coffee with cream mid-afternoon, nibble on nuts in between, and then have dinner at night. On paper, they're fasting. But in reality, insulin has been elevated all day. Their body has been stuck in storage mode for most of that window. They've never truly entered a sustained fat-burning state. The real power of fasting happens not only during the fasting hours, but in how you manage your eating hours. You need to let your insulin go up when you eat, then give it enough time to come back down before you eat again. That's how your metabolism learns flexibility, the ability to switch between burning glucose and fat efficiently. The goal isn't to eat less food necessarily, it's to eat fewer times. 2 solid, balanced meals during your window can do far more for fat burning and hormone balance than 5 scattered snacks. It's also important to remember that what you eat during that window shapes your entire hormonal response. If your meals are built around refined carbs, sugars, or processed snacks, insulin spikes higher and stays elevated longer. But when your meals center on quality protein, healthy fats, and fiber-rich vegetables, insulin rises gently and comes back down smoothly. That's how you stay satisfied and energized, without constantly thinking about food. People often tell me they're fasting, but they feel tired or ravenous when their eating window opens. That's a sign they're still riding the blood sugar roller coaster. The key is to stabilize those swings by eating real food that nourishes the body, not just fills it. When you break your fast with the right nutrients, your body feels calm, balanced, and less likely to crave constant snacks. But when you start grazing, the body never finds rhythm. It's constantly reacting, not recovering. The danger of grazing isn't just physical, it's psychological. Snacking keeps your mind fixated on food. You spend the whole day thinking about what you can eat next instead of giving your body and brain a break. Fasting is as much a mental reset as it is a physical one. When you learn to eat full meals and then stop eating between them, you regain control. You're no longer driven by hunger, you're guided by intention. The beauty of intermittent fasting is in its simplicity. You fast cleanly, you eat mindfully, and you give your body space to process and reset. You don't need to complicate it with endless snacks or worry about hitting specific eating hours down to the minute. The more you simplify your routine, the more consistent your results become. So if you've been fasting without seeing changes, take a close look at what's happening inside your eating window. Are you eating with purpose, or are you grazing out of habit? Are you nourishing your body, or constantly stimulating insulin? Because the secret to fasting success isn't just about how long you don't eat. It's about how disciplined you are when you do. When you stop grazing and start eating with intention, fasting finally begins to work the way it was meant to. Your hormones stabilize, your energy returns, and your body learns to burn fat the way it was always designed to. When you've made it through your fasting window, the moment you choose to eat again is one of the most critical moments of the entire process. What you eat first determines whether your body continues burning fat or instantly switches back to storing it. After fasting, your body is in a state of heightened sensitivity. Your cells are ready to absorb nutrients efficiently, your insulin levels are low, and your fat burning switch is turned on. But the first bite you take decides whether that fat burning continues or shuts off in seconds. Most people make the mistake of breaking their fast with foods that spike insulin quickly. They reach for something convenient, maybe fruit juice, toast, cereal, or a healthy smoothie packed with sugar. And here's the problem: after fasting, insulin sensitivity is at its peak. That means your body reacts even more strongly to sugar or refined carbs. A single meal like that can send insulin soaring, shut off fat burning, and push you straight back into storage mode. All the metabolic benefits from the fast start to fade before your body even has a chance to use them. It's not that carbs are evil. It's about timing and context. When your body has been fasting, it's like a sponge, ready to absorb whatever you give it. So if you start with foods that flood your bloodstream with glucose, insulin rises sharply, and your body diverts energy towards storing it instead of burning it. But if you start your meal with protein, healthy fats, or fiber, you blunt that insulin spike. You stabilize your blood sugar and allow your metabolism to shift gradually into an efficient, balanced rhythm. A great way to think of it is like restarting an engine after it's been resting. You wouldn't slam the accelerator to the floor the moment you turn it on. You'd warm it up gently. Your body deserves the same care. Break your fast slowly, intentionally, with foods that nourish rather than shock the system. A handful of nuts, a few bites of protein, maybe some vegetables or avocado. These foods ease your metabolism back into activity without creating chaos in your blood sugar levels. This isn't just about numbers or macronutrients. It's about the communication between your food and your hormones. The first meal after fasting sends a message to your body: are we burning or storing today? When you choose wisely, you extend the benefits of fasting far beyond the hours you didn't eat. You maintain low insulin levels longer, you stay satiated, and your cravings drop. But when you break your fast with processed, carb-heavy foods, you tell your body to store energy again, to raise insulin, and to crave more food sooner. That's why people often find themselves hungry an hour after breaking their fast. They've restarted the blood sugar roller coaster. This moment is also an opportunity to feed your body what it truly needs. During fasting, your digestive system rests, your liver detoxifies, and your cells recycle damaged proteins through autophagy. When you reintroduce food, it's the perfect time to give your body something clean and restorative. Nutrients that support repair, not inflammation. That's where whole foods shine. Fresh vegetables, lean proteins, and healthy fats provide the raw materials for rebuilding tissues and hormones. They continue the healing that fasting began. Many people unknowingly undo their progress because they confuse breaking the fast with indulging after deprivation. They think, I've earned this, and reach for pancakes or sugary coffee. But fasting isn't punishment, and breaking the fast isn't a reward. It's part of the healing cycle. What you eat first either extends your progress or resets your struggle. If you've ever wondered why fasting isn't giving you results, look closely at that first meal. It often tells the entire story. Another subtle point is how you eat, not just what you eat. Eating slowly, mindfully, and stopping before you're stuffed helps prevent large insulin spikes too. Chewing well and allowing your body to register fullness signals makes a difference. When you break your fast calmly and intentionally, digestion works more efficiently, and hormones like leptin and ghrelin, the hunger and fullness signals, stay in balance. Breaking the fast correctly is what transforms intermittent fasting from a temporary experiment into a sustainable lifestyle. Once you learn how to reintroduce food properly, you stop fighting your body and start working with it. Your energy stays steady, your mood improves, and your cravings fade. You no longer feel trapped in the cycle of fasting and overeating. Instead, you find a calm rhythm, fasting, refueling, and allowing your body to thrive between the two. So, the next time you end a fast, pause for a moment before reaching for food. Ask yourself, what message am I sending to my body right now? Because that first bite doesn't just feed your hunger. It sets the tone for your entire metabolic day. Choose wisely, and your body will thank you by staying in balance, burning fat efficiently, and rewarding you with the clarity and calm that true fasting was meant to bring. One of the most overlooked reasons people struggle with fasting is that they try to force it on a body that isn't ready yet. If your metabolism is damaged, if your cells are resistant to insulin, if your liver is overloaded, or your gut is inflamed, fasting will feel miserable. You'll feel tired, irritable, maybe even dizzy. You'll think fasting doesn't work for you. But the truth is, your body isn't failing the fast. It's just not metabolically healthy enough to handle it yet. You're trying to run a marathon before you've learned to walk. When someone has been eating frequently for years, snacks between meals, sugary drinks, processed foods, their cells become numb to insulin. This condition, known as insulin resistance, is the foundation of metabolic disease. The pancreas keeps releasing more and more insulin to push glucose into cells that no longer respond efficiently. Over time, insulin levels stay high, and the body gets locked in storage mode. Energy gets trapped in fat cells, and even though you have plenty of stored energy, your body can't access it. That's why so many people feel hungry and fatigued even while carrying extra weight. Their energy is locked away, unreachable. Now, when a metabolically unhealthy person tries to fast, the body panics. It's so used to running on sugar that it doesn't know how to burn fat for fuel. The brain sends out hunger signals, the body releases stress hormones, and you feel terrible. But that reaction doesn't mean fasting is wrong for you. It means your metabolism needs healing first. You have to fix the machinery before you can expect it to run smoothly. The first step in this healing is to gently retrain your body to lower insulin levels. You can start by reducing refined carbs and sugars even before extending your fasts. Eat more protein, healthy fats, and fiber to stabilize blood sugar. When insulin stops spiking all day, the body begins to relax. It starts remembering how to use fat as fuel again. This process is slow and steady, but it's powerful. Over time, your cells become sensitive to insulin again, your energy improves, and fasting begins to feel natural, not forced. The liver plays a huge role in this process too. It's your metabolic command center. When it's overloaded with fat and toxins from years of overeating or poor food quality, fasting becomes harder. The liver needs time to clear out stored glycogen before it can efficiently burn fat. That's why short fasts, done consistently, can be more effective than long, extreme ones. You give the liver time to reset gradually, not shock it with deprivation. Then there's the gut. People forget that fasting affects the microbiome, the trillions of bacteria that live inside your intestines. When you fast, you're giving these microbes a rest too. But if your gut is inflamed or imbalanced, fasting can temporarily make you feel bloated or sluggish. Supporting the gut with real foods, vegetables, fermented foods, adequate hydration, helps it heal so fasting becomes smoother. Many people think they just need to push harder, fast longer, eat less, tighten control. But fasting isn't about punishment or extremes. It's about restoration. When your metabolism is broken, your first goal isn't to fast perfectly. It's to heal. Healing comes from balanced nutrition, quality sleep, stress management, and consistency. Once your body feels safe again, fasting begins to work effortlessly. You'll know your metabolism is healing when fasting stops feeling like a battle. You'll notice hunger comes in gentle waves instead of sharp cravings. Your energy becomes steady. You no longer obsess over the clock. That's when you know your cells are burning fat efficiently again. The fatigue lifts, mental clarity returns, and fasting becomes what it's meant to be. A natural rhythm, not a forced effort. When people fail at fasting, it's rarely because they lack discipline. It's because they skip this stage of repair. They focus on the schedule instead of the system. They chase the method before fixing the metabolism. You can't heal what's broken by pushing it harder. You have to support it, give it time, and allow it to rebuild itself. The beauty of fasting is that it becomes easier the healthier you get. The more your insulin drops, the more your liver clears, the more your gut heals, the more your body trusts the process. And when that happens, fasting stops being a struggle. It becomes a relief. You don't feel deprived. You feel light, focused, and in control. Because fasting doesn't create health. It reveals it. When your metabolism heals, fasting becomes the body's natural rhythm of renewal, not a battle of willpower. Even when people do everything right, they fast cleanly, they eat well, they stay consistent, something still holds them back. They're disciplined, but the results just don't match the effort. And most of the time, it's not about food at all. It's about stress, sleep, and hormones. You can't fast your way out of a body that's in survival mode. When the body perceives threat, it shifts all its focus from thriving to protecting. And that protective state is ruled by one powerful hormone, cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. It's supposed to rise in the morning to wake you up and fall at night to let you rest. But in our modern world, it never really goes down. The constant pressure, deadlines, worries, lack of rest, emotional stress keeps cortisol elevated all day long. And when cortisol stays high, it signals the body to keep blood sugar high too. Why? Because your body thinks it needs to be ready to run or fight. So even if you haven't eaten, your liver releases glucose into the bloodstream, which triggers insulin to respond. And there it is again, high insulin, the same hormone we're trying to lower with fasting. That's why chronic stress can completely sabotage fasting results. You could be fasting perfectly, but if your stress is high, your body behaves as if you're eating all day long. Insulin won't drop. Fat burning won't turn on. The body is stuck in alert mode, holding on to every bit of energy it can because it doesn't feel safe. Then comes sleep. Most people underestimate how crucial deep, consistent sleep is for fasting and fat loss. When you don't sleep enough, the body becomes resistant to insulin the next day. Hunger hormones like ghrelin go up, while leptin, the fullness hormone, goes down. You wake up hungrier, you crave sugar and caffeine, and you have less control over food choices. Even one night of poor sleep can throw off your entire metabolic rhythm. Sleep isn't just rest for your brain. It's the nightly reset for your hormones. It's the time your body recalibrates insulin, cortisol, and growth hormone, all of which affect how you burn or store energy. When sleep suffers, fasting feels harder. Your cravings increase, your energy drops, and you start to associate fasting with fatigue instead of clarity. So, improving sleep, going to bed earlier, keeping a dark room, avoiding screens and late night snacks becomes just as important as the fasting window itself. You're not just fasting with your stomach, you're fasting with your lifestyle, and then there are the deeper hormonal systems, especially in women. When fasting is pushed too aggressively, or when the body is under chronic stress, the adrenal glands and thyroid begin to struggle. Cortisol starts stealing resources from other hormones like progesterone and testosterone. Thyroid function slows down and metabolism drops. That's why you sometimes see people fasting perfectly but feeling colder, more fatigued, or noticing hair loss. The body is signaling that it's under too much stress. This doesn't mean fasting is bad. It means fasting has to be done in harmony with the body's stress level, not against it. When you're sleeping well, managing stress, and eating nutrient-dense foods, fasting amplifies healing. But when your body is overwhelmed, fasting can become another stressor. Balance is key. It's better to do shorter, consistent fasts that support your rhythm than long, punishing ones that push your body into burnout. When the nervous system is calm, fasting feels natural. The body can switch into fat-burning mode with ease because it trusts the environment. The parasympathetic system, the rest and digest state, becomes dominant, and hormones align beautifully. Cortisol stabilizes, insulin drops, and energy feels clean and steady. That's when fasting starts to feel effortless. So, if you're fasting, eating clean, and still not seeing progress, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, how are you sleeping? How much stress are you carrying? Are you giving your body time to recover? Because fasting isn't just about when you eat, it's about the state your body is in when you don't. You can't heal a body that doesn't feel safe. The more you support your stress, your sleep, and your hormones, the more your body opens up to healing. Fasting begins to work not through force, but through flow. You stop chasing results and start creating the environment for results to happen naturally. When the body finally feels safe, hormones align, energy rises, and fasting stops being a struggle. It becomes your body's natural way of finding balance again. The biggest secret about fasting is that it's not supposed to be extreme. It's not a race to see who can go the longest without eating, or who can push through hunger the hardest. The real magic of fasting isn't in how long you can do it. It's in how consistently you can live it. Sustainability is what separates people who heal and thrive from those who burn out and quit. When fasting becomes a lifestyle, not a challenge, it transforms from something you do occasionally into something that supports you every single day. In the beginning, many people come to fasting with intensity. They're excited, they want results fast, and they start stacking fasts one after another. 24 hours, 48 hours, maybe even more. But the body doesn't respond to extremes, it responds to rhythm. You can't bully the body into health. You guide it, you teach it, and you give it time to adapt. When fasting is too aggressive, it becomes another form of stress. And as we've already seen, stress raises cortisol, which raises insulin, which blocks fat burning. You end up undoing the very benefits you're trying to achieve. The truth is, the most powerful fasting routine is the one you can maintain without anxiety, fatigue, or obsession. It's the one that fits naturally into your life. Maybe that's a 16/8 schedule most days. Maybe it's a 24-hour fast once a week. Maybe it's just not eating after dinner. It doesn't have to be complicated to be effective. What matters most is consistency. Every time you give your body that predictable rhythm, periods of eating, periods of rest, you teach it trust. And when the body trusts you, it heals faster. People often forget that fasting isn't about deprivation, it's about restoration. It's not about what you're giving up, but what you're giving your body a chance to do. You're creating space for detoxification, for repair, for the liver to clear toxins, for the gut to rest, for the cells to rejuvenate. But healing takes repetition. Just like exercise or sleep, fasting works best when it becomes part of your natural rhythm, not an occasional punishment after overindulging. When fasting becomes a lifestyle, something shifts in the way you relate to food. You stop seeing meals as entertainment or emotional comfort. You start viewing food as nourishment, fuel, something to enjoy but not depend on. You gain a kind of freedom that most people never experience. Freedom from constant hunger, from cravings, from the mental chatter of, what should I eat next? Your energy evens out, your mind feels clear, and your body starts to hum in balance. That's the real fasting lifestyle, a calm confidence in your body's ability to take care of itself. There's also a deeper emotional layer to this. When fasting becomes consistent, it changes how you feel about your body. You begin to trust it again. You realize it's not broken. It's adaptive, intelligent, capable of healing when you get out of its way. Gratitude starts replacing frustration. You start appreciating how resilient the human body really is. This shift in mindset is what turns fasting from a diet into a way of living. Consistency also allows you to notice the subtle signs your body gives you. You learn the difference between true hunger and emotional craving. You learn when your body needs rest versus when it's just bored. That awareness builds a connection that most people lose in the noise of constant eating. And that connection is what keeps fasting sustainable. It's no longer something you have to do. It becomes something you want to do because it feels good, it feels right. And over time, you begin to see that the real reward of fasting isn't just a smaller waistline or better numbers on a blood test. Those are wonderful, but the deeper benefit is the sense of control, clarity, and peace that comes from knowing your body can handle periods without food. You no longer fear hunger. You no longer fear missing a meal. That fear disappears, and in its place grows confidence, the kind that spreads into every area of your life. So, as you continue this journey, don't chase perfection. Don't compare your fasting window to someone else's or push your limits just to see if you can. Focus on rhythm. Focus on balance. Fasting works when it becomes part of who you are, when it aligns with how you live, sleep, and breathe. Because in the end, fasting isn't about eating less, it's about living better. It's about creating a body and a mind that can thrive in the silence between meals, one steady, consistent day at a time. Truth 6.